Hey folks, good morning and welcome back. Yeah, maybe wondering why I'm standing in front of a raised dump truck instead of solar panels or other solar type stuff. Well, this isn't all about solar. That just happens to be a big part of our homestead, farm, whatever you want to call it. This dump truck here is also an important part of it, and kind of goes along with the do-it-yourselfer syndrome I seem to have. About a year ago, we bought this truck. It's a 2004 GMC triaxle, 17-foot bed. It'll haul pretty much whatever we need. And we've, over the course of, since we bought this property 5 or 6 years ago, we've probably put down 800 tons of gravel. We've probably moved 200 tons of dirt. And there's also ag lime to line the pastures. This part of the country needs a lot of lime because the soil can be acidic up here where we're at otherwise. So to manage your hay pastures, you need a lot of good lime on them every year. And all that stuff adds up. When you're looking at getting a truckload of gravel for your driveway, it may not be bad if one truckload will do your whole driveway. So the average price right now is probably around $4.50, and that continues to go up as the fuel prices go up in the managed decline that we're currently in. But if you need, like my driveway is about a half mile long, I would need probably 10 truckloads to go from one end to the other, and that's based on what we've done in the past. So 10 times 450 or more is quite a bit. If you haul it yourself and you go to the quarry and you pick up your own gravel and you just pay by the ton, I can fill this thing up with about 20 to 21 tons for about $200, and then maybe I burn an extra $50 on fuel. So if I'm for around $250, so almost half price, not quite half, but almost half price, I can haul it myself. So when I need several loads at a time, if I need 2 loads of gravel, which usually it seems like my minimum is about 2 at a time, that's $900 versus $500. So that adds up. And with this truck being a 2004, when we bought it a year ago, what the value was then, that's about what my monthly payment is on this thing. We pay about $500 a month, financed for 4 years. So if I do 2 to 3 loads of anything per month, truck pays for itself. So as a diehard do-it-yourselfer, can't go wrong with that. Now these days, this truck would go for quite a bit more here in the great state of Tennessee. We're one of those states where everyone is fleeing to. All the U-Haul trucks are parked here, all inbound. So any kind of construction-related equipment, in particular a dump truck, is just gone. They're not to be had. If you can find one, even way older than this, they're substantially more than I paid just last January. So anyway, we're glad we have it now. But if you're going to have a truck with a few years on it, this being a 2004, there's some maintenance that's going to have to come up. And if you can't do that maintenance yourself, that kind of defeats the purpose of the savings of owning your own truck. If I had to take this thing to a shop every time I needed something, I'd go broke. So my most recent problem was it's a triaxle. So you got 2 sets of drive axles in the back and then a lift axle. And then the axle up front. So there's 4 axles total, so 3 in the back as a triaxle. And that drop axle, or lift axle, or pusher axle, depending on what verbiage you want to use, this is a 20,000-pound axle. It substantially increases the truck's ability to haul heavy loads, and gravel is extremely heavy. And it also dramatically increases your legal ability to haul heavy loads. Every state's different, so I won't go into what a triaxle can haul because, every time you cross the border, it's a different set of rules. But let's just say it's substantial. Now, I could, right now, I'm working on the lift axle. This is a brand new airbag. It uses air suspension, and that's how you can control it to come up and down. There's some smaller bags that hold it up, and then these big ones that push down and support the load. The one on the far side, I just replaced yesterday, but it ran out of daylight. That one had basically blown out from dry rot, so it was just a big air leak when I had the axle down. I couldn't keep up with the air pressure, and it wasn't pushing down on the ground, so if I hit the brakes, the tires would lock up and slide on that axle because there just wasn't any weight on them. And essentially it was all for show. If I had to go across a scale, I would get an overweight ticket because that axle wouldn't be supporting its load. It would just be there for looks to make it look legal, which isn't cool. Yeah, DOT fines aren't a joke. So you could say, well, you could just leave that axle up and run around as a tandem, which I've did some. It's been bad for a few months now. But a tandem axle truck, what I can haul with this thing as a tandem versus what I can haul with it as a triaxle, it's a totally different animal. It adds substantial weight. And then you've also got the weight of the lift axle. It's probably taking the axle total with the air system for it and the wheels and tires and all that kind of stuff. I'm probably losing a ton of capacity hauling the axle around. Just going by the weight of the truck. So a regular old tandem can actually haul more than a triaxle if the triaxle's lift axle's not working. So anyway, this is a Hendrickson drop axle. It's a Hendrickson. This is an MT20, which is the same thing as their new, I think HLM is what they call them now. It's a heavy, non-steerable lift axle. The older airbags, this one I just removed yesterday evening. This was off this side. It's a bit dry rotted. It was still functional, but since the other one had failed and they were both the same age, you got to do the basic math and assume this one's going to fail eventually too, so why not knock them both out at the same time? And these aren't that expensive. I got these off Amazon, believe it or not. I tried local trucks parts places, and I got well, we don't have it in our system, but we can order it special and you'll have to pay for shipping and all that. And it's like, well, I can have it shipped to my house for less from the same Ultima supplier. So normally I go to the local guys first on everything. Worldwide Equipment here in Crossville, Tennessee. Fantastic group of folks, and I try to get everything through them, but this just made more sense to get it myself. But basically all there is to these things, this is it fully compressed. When it's expanded, which I'll show you in a minute, it's probably that long. So on the bottom, this style just has 4 bolts. 4 possible bolt holes. This particular axle only uses 2 of those. Some styles just have one bolt in the middle that hold the bottom on. And then top, you've got, that's on there good. This stud is hollow, so an air fitting goes in the top, and a nut holds it to the truck, and then an air fitting goes in the top, so it serves 2 purposes, and this is just a stud to hold it to the top. So I don't know the official way to do this job. I kind of made up my own procedure yesterday, and it seemed to work really good on the other one, so I'm going to try that again for you today. Basically, with the axle all the way down on the ground and the truck completely depressurized in the air system, I fastened the top to the top mount, which I'll show you a closer view here in a sec. Connected everything, then started the truck, and at a slow idle let the air build slowly, and pull up on the knob in the cab that controls the axle, and then that axle lifts at that point very slowly because there's hardly any air pressure in the system. If it was fully pressurized, it would come up fast. So as it comes up very slowly from underneath, I'm able to manipulate this and line up the 2 holes I need on the support on the bottom of the axle. So I'm going to try that here in just a minute. But while there's no air spring there and you can see everything a lot more clearer, let me give you a closer look. Okay, here's a view of kind of the whole thing we're dealing with here. Like I said, it's a triaxle, which is 3 axles in the back and 1 in the front. These 2 are drive axles, and they support a lion's share of the load. And here's the lift axle, and here's how this works. Currently don't have a tire on the inner. I've got another set that perfectly match these. I'm going to add to that to get my maximum capacity out of it. But how this system works, you see this funny looking little donut looking spring there, and the air line going into it. That is the smaller airbags that kind of lift the whole thing up when they're pressurized and hold it up when you're running down the road when you don't need it. This mount added to the frame here is the upper mount. So the stud that I showed you on the top of that other airbag goes here, and then here's where the hollow larger stud comes through where the air fitting goes on, and here's the airline. Here's the fitting that goes in the top of it, and then the nut that goes over top of that. So that's the only thing that connects the airbag to the truck on the top. On the bottom, you've got this plate here, which you can see the other airbag there already installed on the other side. It only uses 2 of those holes for the bottom to connect the airbag to the bottom of the axle. So then the big airbags push down when the axle's down. Those small airbags, they lift up and they hold it up. And then you've got the air tank for that particular axle, and then the air lines are obviously plumbed into the rest of the system. So, all right, daylights are burning. I got some gravel to haul for our hay barn. So let's get started. Okay, we've got it connected from the top, so now it's just hanging there. It's not connected to the axle yet. We've got our stud there, got our hollow stud there with our air fitting and our airline attached. So that's the only 2 things required to connect the airbag from the top. So now what I'm going to do, I got to get that lower shoe to raise to come up to the airbag. So what I'm going to do, the truck's, it's cold, there's not a drop of air in it. I'm going to fire it up, let that system start to build pressure, and then I'll, as the axle comes up, I'll align the bolts and put them in. So there we have it. Both bags are installed. Cycle the axle up and down. They fully inflate to the appropriate pressure as suggested in the cab. Push down nice and hard on the ground. No leaks. I've crawled all over it looking for leaks. So I believe we're done and avoided another visit to the shop. So thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of this. Dump trucks may not be your thing. They weren't necessarily my thing when we bought this property. But you know, kind of the do-it-yourselfer syndrome that I have, it keeps forcing me to do everything myself, including buy equipment to do it with. And like I said earlier, if you want that to be affordable, you got to be able to deal with it. But you know, I wasn't a dump truck kind of guy before we bought this. I've always been a mechanical guy, but never drove a dump truck. Never drove a big truck, a commercial truck with a unsynchronized manual transmission, which if you've never driven one, is nothing like the manual transmission in your car. This one's got an Eaton 8LL in it, which is basically 10 forward and 3 reverses. 8 of those forward being highway gears and 2 of them being quarry crawling gears. Saw a need, went and bought the truck, drove it around under the farm exemption to kind of learn it, figured it out myself, and then went and took a course, took the test, got my CDL, all so I could haul my own gravel. So anybody can do anything that they set out to do. You just got to set out to do it, And the same goes with fixing stuff like this. Your basic mechanical stuff, no matter what, whether it's a boat, a dump truck, a lawnmower, it's kind of all the same. If you just take everything one component at a time, one hose, one wire, one bolt, one line, until circuit boards come in, and then all bets are off. But with the mechanical basics, pretty much anybody that puts their mind to it can get the mission accomplished and save themselves a bunch of money and learn a lot at the same time. I mean, I've gotten to where I know this truck like the back of my hand in the past year because I do a lot of the work myself. So anyway, appreciate you for joining us. Hope you got something out of it, and hope to see y'all again real soon. Now it's off to the quarry to get some gravel with this third axle. We're putting some gravel down in the floor of our barn over some geofabric in an area that we're storing square bales, and it'll just keep things a lot neater and cleaner in there. When you get a dirt floor, there's not much you can do. Everything gets nasty. But so that's the mission for today. So I'm going to get on with that. You guys have a good as well. Thanks.